by large-scale acquisitions of food, energy, and real estate. We expect Chinese interest in the U.S. assets to remain strong in 2014 because of aggressive economic reforms in China, a more liberal policy environment for Chinese outbound investors, and a positive outlook for the U.S. economy. All right. So when you see that info, and then you see the comment made by the president, he's not exactly being truthful here. Am I imagining something here or not?
Barack Obama not being truthful, really?
Yeah.
So many things with this president are just backwards. And yeah, I caught the bit of his speech where he was talking about China and how, now people are saying invest in the United States. I'm going to flip it a little bit to talk about Max Baucus, who, of course, was one of the architects of Obamacare, who has just recently been nominated to be our ambassador to China, who in his confirmation hearing the other day mentioned that he knows absolutely nothing about China, which I think is just fantastic. Coming in the heels of
John Huntsman.
Well, coming on the heels of the nominee to be the Norwegian ambassador, who turned out knows nothing about Norway. I just point out that really about the only thing that under Barack Obama that his ambassador to the Chi-Coms actually needs to know is how to repeat the phrase endlessly, please keep buying our bonds. Yeah. I'm done.
Melissa, what do you think?
Yes. You're asking about the Invest in America thing. Again, we're having the fade out here. So,
and the fact that when you look at what is really going on, it's the Chinese who are investing in the U.S.
I don't know about you guys. You're probably paying attention to the stock market right now and the jitters and, people talking about drying up the free money and tapering and all this. One thing that makes me nervous as an investor and just watching what's going on with our market is everything feels just so fragile. And so President Obama is talking about investing. And besides the Chinese, I'm not sure anybody else feels like there's much safety right now, pretty much anywhere. And I could be wrong, but it's because I'm by no means an expert, but I'm just looking at how the fundamentals are there. We just had a manufacturer report that said that it's dropped off, I think, 2.3%, maybe more. I'm not remembering exactly, but not what economists expected, which just makes me laugh. I feel like there's a real disconnect between those who are in the Beltway and out in America where we still see so much struggling. And Texas obviously is an exception to this, but the rest of the country is not doing well at all. And so I kind of wonder, what the bullish people are seeing that I'm just not seeing. I don't, and anyway, makes me nervous as an investor and as an American because I think that this complete being so far out of touch is not good, not just, culturally and socially for our social bonds, but also economically.
Yeah, I tend to agree. Stacy, what do you think?
I'm sorry, guys. A lot of what's been said the last 5 minutes has been bleeped out. I don't know what to say. I'm sorry.
Bleep, bleep.
Yeah. So I'll just go with whatever Melissa said.
We love you, Skype. Yes, we do. We love you, Skype, and we'll be true.
And just as an aside, this is the best radio program ever. Can I record that and just say whatever Melissa said? I'll play them for my family.
Well, there will be a podcast in just a second. So, the good news is that means that yes, indeed, you will be able to record that.
In fact, I may.
I'll make that my ringtone for my phone. Whatever Melissa says, every time it rings, my whole family will hear it.
That'd be a good ringtone to have. My daughter's name is Penny, and we're also fans of The Big Bang Theory here. So when we got her phone for her birthday last fall, I did get as her ringtone the knock 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 Penny, knock 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 Penny, which she absolutely loves. So.
One of the other things which was discussed here was the idea that that we are, I think he said we are importing more oil, or no, I'm sorry, we are exporting more oil than we are importing. Didn't he say that? He said a lot that I kind of forgot. But I seem to remember him saying that, and I looked it up, and I can't find any stats supporting that.
I don't have any stats supporting that, but it's probably true. And the reason for that, two reasons. First of all, transporting oil in the United States is incredibly expensive because it has to be done in a lot of cases by train in tank cars because we haven't built pipelines. Oh, surprise, surprise. The second reason is there are some grades of crude oil, which thanks to our lovely environmental restrictions, thank you so much, good old Republican Richard Nixon, for inventing the Environmental Protection Agency, that oil can't be used in the United States, period. So that may actually be true. The problem is it really is camouflaging what the...
Yeah. And I do like this comment where he said, but the debate is settled. Climate change is a fact. It is? The debate's settled?
Well, he must have written an executive order, declaring that. That's the only way.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. I believe in climate change, but here's my hook on this. I believe that it gets warmer. And it gets colder. And that whatever humans have to deal with it is a very, very small portion of it.
I would say it's so small that it is completely ineffectual. And I'll just say, as the sole resident of the Northeast on this call, where I am sitting right now, it sucks, I'll admit it. Where I am sitting right now, 50,000 years ago was literally 1 mile. So quite obviously climate changes. Now, I really think it's a fantastic testament to pre-human history that 50,000 years ago, Halliburton was around to destroy that glacier.
Yeah.
Maybe, could it be the sun, perhaps? I wish I had known we were going to get into this because I don't have all the facts right in front of me, so I'll just sort of set general orders of magnitude. But in 1 year, the sun bombards the earth with more energy than the human race will ever obtain in our entire history from every single energy source, be it renewables, fossil fuels, hydroelectric, and nuclear power. The sheer impact that we as humans have to think that we can actually alter the climate is human arrogance to the 10,000th power.
Yeah, and we've kind of bounced around here. I find this kind of funny. The creation of MyRA. What the president said is that a Social Security check often isn't enough on its own, and while the stock market has doubled over the last 5 years, it doesn't help folks who don't have 401ks. That's why tomorrow I will direct the Treasury to create a new way for working Americans to start their own retirement savings. MyRA. That's a new savings bond that encourages folks to build a nest egg. MyRA guarantees a decent return with no risk of losing what you put in. And if this Congress wants to help, work with me to fix an upside-down tax code that gives tax breaks to help the wealthy save, but does little to nothing for middle-class Americans. Now, okay. Oh, and then he says, offer every American access to an automatic IRA on the job so that they can save at work just like everyone in this chamber can. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm going to go off for just a second. A minor rant, not completely. Liz, don't freak out. I remember I speak for myself. I don't speak for anybody else. I don't speak for who I work for, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I have an IRA. I have an IRA. You know how I have an IRA? I have an IRA because I opened one myself, privately. I chose to do it because the company that I worked for got bought, and so the IRA that I had through the company disappeared. So I took that lump sum and I invested it in my own IRA. And I didn't need the government to tell me that. I did it myself. I'm saving money myself. I don't see why the government has to protect stupid people from themselves. Alan, help me out here. Am I wrong on
well,
am I just a cold-hearted anti-federalist libertarian here?
Of course you are, and you should be proud of it. But no, the everything's going to be fine. We're just going to get retirement.gov, and everybody's going to sign up on that, and everything will just be perfect.
Yeah.
You know, the same way they're going to, when they reform immigration, we'll get immigration.gov.
Oh, gosh. Immigration. I'm... Melissa, do you want to chime in here on my RA?
Well, the thing is, the first thing that popped in my head when he talked about that was just having the government have access to that data. It's like just more data for the government to have. So they're going to have our health care, which means they're going to know everything about us from birth to death. And as we learned with the target hacking, there's and for that matter, healthcare.gov, a hacker got in 4 minutes. Basically, there's nothing secure because the government is so inefficient and horrible. And even if they're efficient, that's even scarier. So, you don't want an efficient government with your information, your personal information. So I'm just why is everybody so eager to give the government more of ourselves? It's just scary.
Yeah.
Just who wants this? All of these different things are just ways to not talk about free enough regulations for jobs. President Obama gave what sounded like a Republican speech. I loved it. He was talking about less regulation. There's been 10,000 more regulations, I think, since January 1st of this year from the government. And he's talking about less regulations and he'll personally cut through red tape to start businesses. Really? Because everything his administration has done has made creating a job more difficult. And now he's talking about raising the minimum wage, which, of course, for the dummies who know nothing about economics, sounds great. But for anybody who knows what he's talking about, knows it'll harm the very people he's talking about helping. There's not one thing that he says that he actually means, and or he means something that's exactly the opposite of what he says. So this is just, it's just more lies, and and more scariness and more government control. And all I could think of is we have 3 more years of this.